Hello everybody and welcome back to Hearts of Iron, where we are currently planning to fight the United States of America. The question is, when should we pull the trigger? The answer is, I think, almost certainly not yet. So let's go up to speed 5 here. I do want to fight the US next. I had considered taking out some of these other neutral nations like Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, but that just runs the risk of having a larger fight with the US. I think eliminating the US first is the way to go, and then we can clean up the little guys after that. So we're going to cruise forward on speed 5 here for a little bit, because we want to get some constructions done. And how far do we want to get in our constructions? Well, we obviously don't need to build everything that's in this giant list. This giant, extremely laggy list. Obviously, that's not required. I do want to get down to... Let's just see here. That's the anti-air there. There's a bunch of infrastructure here that we could definitely get built. Like, there's a whole lot of infrastructure in here. We've got this Sonora, Rio Grande, Chihuahua supply hub here. These should be moved up to the top. Certainly. I think getting through all of this infrastructure and then building all of these land forts down here, that's probably the way to go. Including, let's move these naval bases up for right now. Something like that. So getting down in terms of construction, and yes, this is very, very laggy here, getting down in construction at least to here would be what I'd like to do before we declare on the US. Now, how long would it take us to justify on the US? I'm not actually going to do this right now, probably. 125 days, unless we were to justify on, like, literally all of their states. We can't justify on more than this? Okay. So that would be 225 days. I don't think we're going to wait that long. Well, I mean, I do think we're going to wait that long. I think we're not going to get started on that just yet. So that's fine. I do want to finish off our intelligence agency. So let's get the penultimate upgrade going there. That looks good. Now, one question to ask at this point is, do we want to move up these factories that are here? There's some military and civilian factories. And I think arguably the answer to that is yes. If we were to build all these factories first, that would probably be a good thing. A very, very good thing. So something like that. Then, of course, we would definitely want to get this anti-air completed. And then we're down to this infrastructure, right? So I kind of want to move these land forts up for right now. This is going to result in a fairly significant reshuffling of our construction priority. I want to move down all of this infrastructure, so all of the infrastructure joins together. Then I want to go up here, moving up this anti-air, like so. And then land forts can move up, and we would move up the supply hubs, like so. Okay, now these factories are not up right now. That's probably okay. I want to move up specifically these factories, like so. So something along the lines of this, and then probably also moving up the anti-air here, and then focusing on these land forts after that. So getting that consolidated together here, I would like to bring these guys up above the land forts, about like this. I feel like this is probably approximately the way to go. So let's just scan through this really quick here. That gets us land forts, then military factories, then the infrastructure. And there's a lot of that in there. Okay, that looks reasonably fine for right now. So we'll cruise forward on that construction priority. That will, of course, take some time to get done, and that is absolutely okay. We can continue to tick forward on speed 5 here for a little bit. And in the meantime, I'd like to take a little bit of a look. I just noticed Austria owns this. Okay. I literally just now noticed that. That's wild. So we control most of Europe. Austria is a big chunk there. Italy's a pretty decent chunk as well. We control most of everything, but we certainly don't control literally everything. Controlling the US will put us in the position of being incredibly powerful compared to everyone else. And at that point, it's just a matter of time until we manage to get everybody taken care of, right? So we're going to want to justify a bunch of wars after the US and get all of these dealt with, or bring them into our faction, whichever ends up being possible. We do have this infantry division. Is this a real infantry division? It is. It's a real infantry division. So we're going to put that right here for right now. That's the only unit that was actually available there. So that seems good. Now, I do want to think about air power. So we're going to want to construct an air base. And I'm thinking one here and also one here. Then as far as these air bases go, we've got this guy. I'd definitely like to get this one brought up, and then this one. So we'll get those air bases underway as well. Air bases will be fairly necessary if we want to contest the skies at all and use nukes. We'll see how that ends up going, but that's the current theory anyway. So machine-assisted decryption has finished. Let's get that last upgrade done in our cryptology department. We've also got this unassigned division, which is a fake division, and we're going to put that right over here. Fantastic. So I'm wondering right now what our combat casualties are. Okay, that's going to take 291 weeks to tick up. That's a lot of weeks. We're not going to wait that long. I can tell you that right now. It's going to take us some time to get through these constructions, for sure. But it's not going to take anywhere near that amount of time. So that's all looking good. We're mostly just going to sit here and wait on these to finish. And I may actually consider cutting out this section and just doing this off camera and coming back to it. Because all we're doing right now is waiting on construction and sorting out these troops. Like, there's very little happening right now. And I think I'm going to do that. If anything happens, then I will be back early. But otherwise, we'll be back around the time we want to start justification on the US. See you guys in just a moment. Well, I wouldn't exactly call this something happening, but I mean, it kind of is. We have a free dockyard, so we should probably figure out what we want to do with that free dockyard. And let's scroll on down here. We've got 3 lines of sub-hulls, 3 lines of destroyer hulls, 3 lines of cruiser hull, 3 line of heavy ship, and 3 lines of carrier. So I think I'm going to get us another line of submarine hulls for right now. So let's just grab that. That is going to be this guy, and I want to drag that up to be with the rest of the submarine hulls. We'll put that right there, and we'll toss 10 dockyards at it, but we only have 1 for right now. So that is reasonably fine, and as long as we're here, well, let's sort this guy in over... Where are you? You go here. There you go. And this guy can sort in somewhere like... perhaps here. That would be fine. Cool. We can check in real quick on our construction progress. There's been some progress. It's not as far as I would like, that's for sure. And I will see you guys in just a moment again, if something happens. Okay, I've decided to do another change here, and specifically the change that I decided to do was I decided to change those military factories over to civilian. We're actually getting quite a large number of military factories. I've had to crank up our close air support production and our MiG-9 production somewhat in order to utilize all of our factories that are coming in, presumably from our vassals or whatever. So that seems reasonably fine. Yeah, you can see this just went from 767 to 768. So we now have 62 here instead of 61. So that is a thing that is ongoing, so I decided to do that. This way we get our constructions done that little bit faster, in theory. In theory. Now, I don't think I'm going to cut out again here. We're pretty close to where we want to be, all things considered. We're working on these factories. It'll take us some time to get through them, but it won't take all that long. A lot of these are just single units and will get finished up fairly quickly. So you can see there's a number of them. No doubt about it. There's quite a lot. And then we get down here to these naval bases. And I do want to prioritize the naval bases over the factories. The land forts were most of the way through at this time, and that's looking good. So that seems reasonably fine. We can probably consider starting our justification on the US. I'm just wondering if it's really something that we want to do yet. We're going to be locked in when we start it to declaring the war within a month of when we justify, unless we want to spend additional time justifying, right? It expires after a month. So the question is, do we want to wait on these factories finishing up? And I think the answer to that is probably no. We have most of these land forts constructed. I think we're probably in a reasonable spot there. We do have these air bases built. So we've got an air base here, we've got an air base here, we've got an air base up over this one. We've got an air base here and an air base here. So that seems reasonably fine for now. So I think we're going to start justifying on the US with, I don't know, Maine as our war goal? Sure, why not? The US is, of course, not going to be very happy about this, and the US is absolutely going to be tough. But I think it will honestly be a little easier than England, is my guess. We'll be fighting on fewer fronts. And also, the US is... The main strength of the US is that it's difficult to get to, much like Britain. But we're already there, so that shouldn't be particularly difficult, unlike Britain. So I want to check in here. Yeah, this is a real unit here, so we'll sort that in there. Perfect. And let's just cruise on forward here a few days. I want to check in quick on our construction progress. Okay. We're definitely making progress here. But it will take some time to make our way through that. That's absolutely A-okay. We have 1483 total factories. Most of those are military factories, and I feel like we have broadly enough military factories, so that should be fine. This is also a real infantry unit, and that's going to go over here as soon as this autosave is over. There we go. Perfect. So that all looks good. Now, we should probably start moving some air wings in. So we're going to move in our MiG-9s for now only. Yes. I'm going to be moving in only MiG-9s, but I'm going to only be putting in 1,500 per airbase. Yes, it caps at 2,000. We're keeping that space for if we want to bring in close air support and if we want to bring in other bombers. So that'll be fine. And they are going to go on air superiority over the Southwest. These guys are going to go into air superiority. Actually, Southwest and... Actually, we can't do and. It needs to be or. We'll have to do Southern Rockies out over here. Okay. Slightly awkward, but it is fine. Let's put in an air wing of MiG-9s up over here. There they are. So we'll get 1,500 of these here. That is bumping into our stockpile, no doubt about it. And then these guys can go for, like, Central USA. We're going to have some awkward gaps in our air coverage here, but it's probably okay. I'm not necessarily that concerned about it. So we're going to put in another 1,500 here. They're going to go to, like, the Central USA, is the current theory. Their range isn't ideal, though. They can't be assigned here because they don't have coverage, I guess, so they have to go to the Northern Rockies. It's very awkward that this circle appears to be centered here, not on the airbase, but whatever. Okay, we're going to go up over here. We're going to bring in MiG-9s here as well. Okay, so that's going to be about 1,500 of those, and they are going to be covering Great Lakes for right now. And they should be, honestly, in air superiority over Great Lakes. There we go, and then we've got this airbase over here. We'll bring in another 1,500 MiG-9s. How many of those do we have left in stock? Okay, we've got a good number of them left in stock, so that should be absolutely okay. Now, this is absolutely... Actually, that's not eating up all that much manpower, now that I look at it. It's really not too bad. Okay, so we're going to put them in something like this. Now, what's up with these guys? Air wing with no mission assigned. Okay, they need to be on air superiority. We can also launch out of Cuba and work on Gulf Coast. That would be reasonably fine as well. So let's bring in some MiG-9s here. There we go. And they're going to work on the Gulf Coast with air superiority. Okay, so something along the lines of that is what we're doing on that front. Now, we should think about our overall battle plan. What is our battle plan? To be honest, I kind of want to hold over here and here. I want these guys and these guys to scoop downward and get this from being a horizontal front line to being a vertical front line. So I want to conquer the west first and then go east, I think. There's a lot of mountain out over here, so that would be a little bit on the tough side. But to that end, I want to grab this army group here, which is, of course, our tanks. And they would be set, not these guys, but the rest of these units would be set to offensive line. And their offensive line is something about, like, actually pretty much right on the Mississippi River is where we want to go. So that would be right about here. Or thereabouts. Yeah, right about there. And then just cut over to, like, Lake Superior here. Something like that. That looks good. So we'll do that, and then these guys, I don't know if they're actually assigned to this offensive line. It doesn't really matter, though. So we want it to be something kind of like this. We conquer the west, and then we push in this way. That's reasonably okay. Now, this unit here, I want to make sure that they do have some form of offensive line. They're not going to be overall attempting to get quite as far. So I'm just going to have them, for now, try to push up to something like this. Okay, that'll work for now. Note how our infantry are remaining in reserve as defensive units. And that is in keeping with our doctrine. So that sounds good. We're going to put this tank unit over here. That looks good. That's a real tank unit. Okay. So this all looks absolutely fine. Do we have any other unassigned divisions? No, we don't. How's that construction going? We've wrapped up one of those naval bases and a bunch of these factories. So we're up to 606 civilian factories now. That's looking solid, but we're not quite building all of these civilian factories yet. I say not quite. We're about halfway through them. So that is okay. We're going to finish those up and continue construction soon enough. We've got about another 70 days, so that will buy us some time to get that done. That looks good. So in that 70 days, I think we're going to get a lot of this done, right? How long does it take to construct one of these? One of these that are very, very close to the start here still. 16 October, so they take like a month and a half or so? Okay. Well, that's reasonably fine. So it's something along these lines that we have planned. Now, supplies are absolutely going to be critical here. Just checking that our forward supply depots are, in fact, motorized. And they are. That looks good. Up over here, we should probably motorize this supply depot, and this supply depot. Other supply depots over here in the south probably don't need to be as motorized. This is mostly, well, it kind of depends on where they decide to defend. If they decide to defend against this push, then we can push here and here. If they decide to defend against this push, we can push here and here, you know? They're going to be pulled in multiple directions, and it depends on their overall disposition. So we'll see how that ends up looking. For now, it's probably going to be fine. Probably. But yes, I would absolutely like to convert this from a horizontal line into a vertical line. That will allow us to shorten our lines quite a lot, and that will be fairly important here. This is a very wide set of fronts that we've got going on. And of course, we've got this out over here that we can't forget about. So these guys are going to immediately begin an offensive line straight down through here. And these guys are going to immediately begin an offensive line straight down through here, like so. Now, Hawaii we're going to ignore. We cannot contest the United States navally at this time. So we're not even going to attempt to. That is not a thing that we're going to look to do. Their military is absolutely, like their army is something that is going to need to be dealt with. But we'll see how that ends up going. That'll be very interesting indeed. Cool. So Hawaii is their only other holding. We'll see if any other nations decide to join them. For the moment, well, it is possible. What would we do if, say, Austria were to join them? They're not going to. Not with this alignment. But what if they did? It'd be potentially problematic. Italy probably won't either. Honestly, I suspect people who are likely to join the US already joined Britain, is what I suspect. There might be a South American nation or two, like Colombia theoretically might. Ecuador, probably not. Peru, Bolivia, probably not. It's... we'll see. We'll see. For the moment, I'm not too concerned about it. Even if another nation joins, nobody's really going to be strong enough to pose a serious threat. We just might have to reallocate some of our current troops, is what that would end up meaning. So that's not too scary, all things considered. Let's take a quick look at our construction here, see how that's going. We have finished all but one level of our naval base in Rio Grande, so that looks great. We're working on a bunch of these factories. We're up to 620 factories in use. We are actually constructing all of these civilian factories simultaneously. So this one is allegedly going to be done in April of next year. It will actually be a little bit faster than that, but we are going to be done with this very, very shortly here. Now, how are we doing on that justification? Only about 13 days, 2 weeks. Okay. Well, we'll see how this goes. It'll be very interesting, no doubt about that. We're going to probably want to have some strategic bombers stationed somewhere. I'm thinking here. So that would be strategic bombers, and I want these guys. Just 100 of them. Okay, that's not the world's greatest range. Kind of awkwardly positioned. Noted. I'd like to move them down over here. That'll be a better position for them. And this is just so that we can Man, it keeps centering it on the state, not on the airbase. I really feel like it should be centered on the airbase, not on the state. Okay, whatever. We're going to be using those for nukes if we need nukes. So that'll be reasonably fine for now. We should be launching this very, very shortly. Justification is now finished, and I want to check in here. Yes, we are now working on constructing a fair amount of these land forts here. I'm going to move up these land forts in terms of priority. We do have a number of them already built, but let's move those up so that they can be worked on. And I do want to declare this. Let's go. This is, of course, going to be the final large war. And we're immediately seeing some interesting gains here, no doubt about that. Yeah, the US was apparently not really expecting this. They're getting beaten back pretty heavily at this moment. Now, we're not really attacking out over here. We're going to keep an eye on the situation out here. For the moment, this is just being held in reserve, and we're just looking to push to the Mississippi as before. So they called in Sierra Leone, which was fully expected, and immediately we should be seeing these guys attacking. They're not. Liberia was brought in. Why are you guys not attacking? Like, get in here. Okay, I want you guys actually attacking here. There we go. So that should be reasonably fine. Hawaii was called in, which was expected. Wow, this is not going well for them. Okay, this is going incredibly poorly for the US. I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to be quite this bad for them. Okay, Liberia has capitulated. That seems good. This is... Okay, the dawn of the Swiss Concordat exists. Hawaii, Liberia, and Sierra Leone joined with Switzerland. Okay. Everybody wants to join our war, and we'll accept that. That's all fine. Yes, this is all absolutely okay. Come on in. Fantastic. We'll just call everybody. Beautiful. Okay. So we're just going to continue to cruise on through here. We don't need everyone's help, to be clear. The U.S. called in Switzerland. Okay. So the U.S. is kind of crumbling at this time. I'm going to grab this army, and I'm going to tell them, forget about defending France. I want you guys to come over and get Switzerland under control. So let's select all here. And we'll assign those over here. But I also want to select half and then half again. And we're going to assign those to being over here. There we go. And then these front lines are going to offensive line through Switzerland. That is going to be a difficult task for them, to be clear. But that'll do for now. I also want to consider bringing up, well, we're not really ready to bring in our Marine forces yet. They're still working on this area. So that seems reasonably fine. Now, the U.S. is absolutely crumbling at this moment. Our two fronts are going to meet up fairly soon. And when that happens, bad things, TM, will occur for the U.S. Now, this is already extremely grim for them, but it is time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to deal with U.S. and friends. Honestly, at the rate it's going right now, I kind of expect it to be done next episode. We'll see how that goes. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.